to log in. LP Army will teach you the way to be LP warrior starting this day. We live for the fees we make. Soon it is profits that you will take. The LP Army marches strong. The best in soul, and now we sing our song. We live for the fees we make. Soon it is profits that you will take. The LP Army marches strong. The best in soul, and now we sing our song. We are LP Army, rise to the sky. Dynamic fees, our battle cry. LP warriors will never die. Bearable we will fly. Rise, new soldiers, rise. Rise, new soldiers, rise. Spot, copy, ask, use them all. Winning's the task, we heed the call. Bootcamp, join our ranks so tight. Listen to the Goose Gang and gain your might. We will print and we will learn. Ways to gain is tokens burn. Join the ranks of the brave and bold. Story of the LP Army told. We are LP Army, rise to the sky. Dynamic feast, our battle cry. LP warriors will never die. Bearable we will fly. Rise, new soldiers, rise. Rise. Take the course and earn your role. March with us and earn some soul. Dodge the rug and join the fight. We gain together LP Army might. Make your position and join the pool. Post your wins with Alex's tool. LP Army, we fight to win. Your journey is about to begin. We are LP Army, rise to the sky. Dynamic feast, our battle cry. LP warriors will never die. Bearable we will fly. Rise, new soldiers, rise. Take the course and earn your role. March with us and earn some soul. Dodge the rug and join the fight. We gain together LP Army might. Oh.
All right. Ready to go. G-Met, everybody. How we doing? Ready to do this? All right. Let's pull up the deck here. All right. So if you guys are here for LP Army Bootcamp Day 2, you're in the right place. I'm Geek Lad and George Sierra, your instructor for today. And before we get into it, of course, we're going to have to do a little disclaimer here. So we always start with this, right? So I'm not a financial professional. Heavy Metal Cook's not a financial professional. The other team members we've got here with us today are not financial professionals. And so everything you do here today is at your own risk. There is a possibility you can lose money. So, don't put anything at risk that you're not willing to lose. And, you assume all responsibility. And if you don't agree to this, no hard feelings. Just disconnect, go out and touch some grass, and come back another time when you're ready to agree to these terms. All right. And so obviously prerequisites, you got to agree to the terms we just talked about. You're going to need a Web3 wallet. You can use Phantom, Soulflare, Backpack, some wallet that supports Solana, and you're going to have we recommend one Sol. Doesn't necessarily have to be one Sol for purposes of going through the training today, but you definitely want to have some Sol in there. And like we said yesterday, you need to be prepared to lose before you win, right? It's gonna take some practice. You know, yesterday you gotta learn the rules of the game, right? And just because you know the rules of the game doesn't mean you're gonna win the game, right? Just because you know how to play chess, know how to play checkers, doesn't mean you're gonna be a grandmaster. It's gonna take time, and you're probably gonna lose more often than you win in the beginning. But eventually, you'll get a feel for it, and you'll get better over time. All right. So as I said earlier, my name's George Sierra, or Jorge Sierra to my Spanish friends out there. Typically go by George. I'm Cuban American, so I was born in the U.S. U.S. is my country. I'm American first, but also proud of my Cuban heritage as well, of course. I go by Geeklad in the Discord, on Twitter, on Reddit, Xbox, Steam. I've grabbed my handle on most of the platforms out there. So if you guys want to follow me on Twitter, you can follow me at Geeklad. Um, been a geek all my life, almost coming up on 50 years. Always been a technophile, always loved technology. Been working in the technology field pretty much my whole career for about 25 years, doing a lot of data analysis and things like that. Just started a new job about a month and a half ago as an IT business relationship manager at Zeus Fire and Security. So that's what I do for my day job. Had a bunch of different side hustles. Of course, a Meteora Bootcamp instructor, one of my favorite side hustles here. And I do this voluntarily. I'm actually not part of the Meteora team, but I am part of the LP Army. And I actually did teach a fintech bootcamp through the University of Miami late last year, early this year. Of course, I'm a member of a small startup. We do all sorts of little projects. One thing I did a couple of years ago, I had an arbitrage bot I built on Solana blockchain using the Jupyter SDK. So that landed me a nice airdrop in Jupe. So also part of the Jupyter community, not as active as I am with the Meteora community. Do aspire someday to launch a career in crypto, launch an encore career. I'm mid to late career, maybe got about another 10 years left here. So I'd love to continue in crypto when I retire from my day job and keep doing this. I really love doing this. It's a lot of fun. Started in Ethereum 2017, did some mining, went back when Ethereum was still proof of work. And then, those profits, I just kind of rolled it into different DeFi products, got some airdrops. So basically just been kind of fooling around in DeFi for quite a while, since about 2017. Of course, we've got our other wonderful instructors. And so some of these folks also teach boot camps. Some of them assist with boot camps, answering your questions. So, definitely big shout out to all the folks here and present with us today. We've got, of course, Heavy Metal Cook, Magica, and Photon Magic. So you guys will see them in chat answering questions that you guys have. So make sure you use the chat feature. If you guys have questions, pop them up in chat, and I'll try to answer questions live as I can. And my assistants here, Heavy Metal Cook, Magica, Photon Magic, they'll also be answering questions in the chat. Try to follow along with what we're doing here, right? So, it's one thing to be watching me go through the exercises, but it's something else entirely when you do it yourself and you're watching the price action and you're seeing what's happening with your position. So I highly recommend you guys try to follow along with what we're doing here. And of course, after the lesson today, go into the Discord, ask questions there. Lots and lots of helpful people there to answer your questions. I think we're going to try something a little bit different this time as well, and actually go into the LP chat in the Discord. And so Heavy Metal Cook will be there live. I'll be there live, and we'll be there to answer you guys' questions live right in the Discord. So please join us for that afterwards. I might be stuffing my face with some food though, because I've got to get some lunch here at some point. it's a late morning for me here, and by the time we finish, it'll be early afternoon. This is a 2-hour session today. So we got a QR code here with some really great resources. So go ahead and scan that. And let's see if I can drop this in the chat, maybe. Let me see if I can copy this link and drop it in chat so you guys see it. So there's the link there in the chat, and of course, scan that. There's a lot of great resources there on Meteora documentation, dashboards, community tools that people have developed, including myself and the great Alex, of course, with the Metlex tool. And we'll be going over some of these tools in the presentation today. All right, so here's our agenda. We're gonna, talk about tools, ways to find opportunities. We'll do a little bit of technical analysis, really, really basic technical analysis, how to read charts, look for resistance and support levels, and we'll do some hands-on activities, actually doing some LPing. And then, of course, we're going to talk about the question that everybody asks the whole time: how do you complete the task for graduation, become an LP Army private, and join the LP Army? And of course, if we've got time, we'll do Q&A, and we'll be answering questions throughout the whole presentation.
Yep, just be patient, guys. We'll get there.
We'll get there. We'll get there. All right. So by the end of the lesson today, you're going to learn how to be safe, how to find good opportunities to LP, some basics and chart analysis, different tools that you can use, and we're actually going to practice DLMMing with a volatile pair. All right, so a few things you want to do is kind of set some rules, right? Figure out what it is you want to do. Try to come up with your own systematic approach, right? It doesn't have to be what I show you today. It can be something that you kind of figure out over time, right? And then of course, you got to figure out what it is you're going to be willing to lose per trade. So you don't want to put all your bags all at once in one position. You want to diversify. You want to put some small amount relative to your total portfolio at risk each time that you're going to enter a position. So, and you really got to understand, what's your risk tolerance, right? If you're highly risk tolerant, you can get into some really degen stuff, some high risk meme coins right after launch. If you have low risk tolerance, then maybe blue chip blue chip tokens like JLP or Sol or Jupiter might be better for you. And practice, right? So the more you practice, the more points you're going to earn, right? So we've got the Met stimulus package that we talked about yesterday. Every dollar that you earn in fees is going to give you 1,000 Met points, and then every dollar of liquidity that you provide every day gives you 1 Met point. So the more you earn in fees, the more Met points you're going to earn for the future. And definitely test things out, try different strategies. If you see a strategy that works for you, it might be that you got lucky, right? So try that strategy again, try it several times, and then if it's consistent and you win fairly consistently with that strategy, then you kind of found your strategy going forward. And definitely you want to collaborate, right? Go into the Discord. There's a lot of great folks in there that have been LPing for quite a while. They'll also provide you with potential opportunities and things to try out. All right, so we'll talk about some tools that look at things on chain, things that ways that you can find opportunities, and then we'll take a look at we'll probably look at GMGN.ai, which is a great charting tool with a lot of great information about the tokens that you may be potentially looking into. You want to find things that have plenty of volume, right? Low volume token, you're not going to generate a lot in fees, and really generating fees is the name of the game. So here's a couple of different tools here. So there's rug check, bubble maps. And then, of course, charting tools can sort of help you identify potential wash trading. So rug check is going to tell you if the token's mintable, right? So if the token's still mintable, that can be a big problem because they can just generate a whole bunch more tokens, diluting the total market cap and dumping the value, really killing the value of the token. You want to make sure it's also frozen, or I'm sorry, that it can't be frozen, right? If it can be frozen, then you can't sell it. There's no way to provide liquidity. You want to watch out for low liquidity tokens, right? If it's low liquidity, it's easy to get rugged. It's easy for the token creator to rug you. You want to see also that there's a good spread of ownership of the token, right? What happens is if you have a high concentration of ownership by a few people or a few wallets, those wallets can dump the token and then they're going to kill the price of the token. So, and then copycat tokens is another thing that RugCheck does, right? So you want to try to look for the original. Bubble maps will show you how much transferring there is going on between wallets. So a lot of times, token creators, they'll transfer the token between wallets and then they'll generate, wash trading activity, right? So it's kind of, if you look at the next one where you see the wash trading chart there, it shows, if you see very, very consistent volume, kind of minute after minute after minute, then that's highly indicative that that there are bots that are doing wash trading, right? So that in conjunction with bubble maps, although these token creators get a little more creative and they find ways to sort of get around the bubble maps, but wash trading is definitely something you got to watch out for, because what happens is, in order to sort of make it look like their token has a lot of volume, they'll send a lot of that token to other wallets, or they'll acquire the token with a lot of wallets, and then they'll just buy and sell back and forth with those wallets. And so when you see that, you'll see like very, very uniform volume on the token. So that's kind of a good indicator that wash trading.
Click on the image there?
Yeah. Let me.
There. So
yeah. So you can see here, right? There's a lot of volume, but it's very, very uniform, right? So that's indicative.
Like when the bot crashed or something.
Yeah.
The times where it died.
Yeah. Yep. So you can see over here, right? At that point they terminated the bot, and then that's it. That's it. Everybody gets rugged. So you definitely want to watch out for that. And then here's a good view of a better view of bubble maps, right? So here you can see we've got a cluster of tokens. I'm sorry, a cluster of wallets, right? So you can see it's all highlighted in this lime green. So that means there's a lot of transfers going back and forth between these wallets. And then you can see another cluster colored here, another cluster here, another cluster here. So that's something that you want to watch out for. And then just here's a view of a bad token on RugCheck. Of course, there's some community tools in Discord. So I actually created this DLMM opportunity bot. And what it'll do is it looks at across all the DLMMs to try to find ones that are generating a lot of fees relative to the amount of liquidity. So, there's a lot of different parameters you can try. And then, of course, you can keep an eye out on Discord in the DLMM Live Together channel. So this channel has different threads for different pairs or different tokens. And so this is a good way to find opportunities as well. And then there's also the Show Off Your Curves channel. A lot of folks will share opportunities in the Show Off Your Curves channel. So technical analysis is another useful way to decide, where are you going to set the bounds of your position once you've decided that you found a token that you like to provide liquidity on. So we'll talk a little bit more in detail when we get into the demo about support and resistance, and those are two important concepts when it comes to market making. And then we'll talk about obviously volume and setting the range. And you may want to look at different time steps. Excuse me a second. look at different time steps, like 1 minute chart, 5 minute chart, 1 hour charts, 1 day chart if you're looking really long term, so on and so forth.
Hey, Geek, let me stop you just for a second. Someone had
Yes,
a
sir.
last question. Does the DLM bot pre-filter out tokens that fail rug check?
I don't believe it does, but there is a link to the rug check in the bot, so you can click that link and then check out what the rug check is telling you. That's a good question. And so what we have here on this slide is several different indicators. So we've got the MACD indicator. So this is the moving average convergence divergence. Basically, what it does, it compares two moving averages, one that has a longer term, a longer length in time than the more near term one. So what happens is a lot of times when the averages converge and diverge, then that's kind of an indicator when the price movement is going to be changing. It's sort of its trend overall. And then there's a relative strength indicator as well, which is a nice one to look at. Generally speaking, if it's above 70, it means that the token's been overbought, meaning that it might have some propensity to go back down. And then if it's below 30, that means it's oversold, right? So it might have a propensity to kind of trend back upwards. So RSI indicators, another good one. And then this is one that I found early on when I started market making on Meteora, is the volume profile visible range. So what this does is it puts a histogram on the vertical axis of the chart, and it shows you how much activity, how many trades are taking place at specific price levels here. So you can see at this higher price level up here, there's less volume than at this price level here, right? And it shows you like a nice line where you have the highest amount of volume. And then down here at the lower price range, there's less volume. So what you'd like to try to do is concentrate your liquidity where you're going to see the most volume. So if you find a token that's ranging well, meaning it's going up and down in price fairly consistently, then the volume price indicator, this volume profile visible range, is a great tool. So there's a bunch of different things that you want to take a look at when you're reading charts. You want to look at volume. Volume is very important, right? So if we look at this chart here, down at the bottom, you can see the volume over time, right? So each one of these bars indicates 15 minutes, right? So if you look up here, it says we're looking at a 15-minute chart because this is Meteora 15. So this is how much volume we saw during this 15-minute period, this 15-minute period, so on and so forth, right? And then red just tells you what the general trend was for that particular 15 minutes, right? So if it's red, indicates that in that 15-minute period it dropped. And then you'll also see a candlestick that's red up here, right? So candlesticks indicate the range of prices within that 15-minute period. And so you have these wicks, right? These thin lines going up and down. And those wicks indicate what the high and the low was during that 15-minute period. And then the thick part of the candlestick, that indicates where the price was when it entered. So when it started that 15-minute period and when it exited that 15-minute period. So, looking at the candlesticks is nice because it tells you, that the token has been sort of ranging in that period. It was ranging in that period over that 15 minutes. So when you look at a bunch of different candlesticks, right, you're looking at the overall chart, and then you can kind of see how the token has ranged over that period of time, right? So if you look here, we're looking at from like 1,200 hours to 1,800 hours. So this was a 6-hour period, and you can see how the token has trended over that 16-hour period. So you can see, we had a max of about 0.71 SOL, and then a minimum of maybe around 0.69 SOL, a little bit above 0.69 SOL. So depending on sort of your time frame of when you're going to LPing, you may want to look to see how it's ranged over that time period, right? If you're going to be very actively LPing, you might be looking at shorter time frames. meaning that you're going to be adjusting your position frequently. And then if you kind of want to chill out and you want to set something for overnight, you might want to look at the chart over a longer period of time.
Hey, Geek, we got a question on screen about bubble maps.
Yeah. So the question is, does the token bubble map make the connection between wallets that transactions transfer in the past, or just the transactions of the current token? It's just for the current token, I believe. I don't think it's for past transactions. It's a good question. All right, so that's kind of a high level view on what the charts kind of show you over time. And then over here, you can see this is sort of a picture of the Meteora UI for the Jupe Sol pair, or Jupe Sol. I guess you can call it a pair. And then here you have all the different markets, right? So for each market, you have the bin step and the fee. And we talked about bin step and fee in yesterday's lesson. So if you're not familiar with what bin step and fee is, I'd recommend going back to the recording for yesterday and take a look at that. And then here's a little screenshot. I believe this is from Dex Tools. Just kind of shows you sort of a nice little snapshot of what's happened over the past 24 hours. And then within Dex Screener, and a lot of other tools have the same thing. GMGN has a similar sort of thing. You can click on each one of these to see, what's happened over that time frame for that token. It's just a nice, sort of view that shows it, not on a chart, but sort of a kind of more of a tabular format. So yesterday we talked about all the different strategies that we have. So, we've got, you can do all sorts of different shapes, and over time, as you see some price action, you can remove liquidity from your position and replace it. And so when you do that, you get kind of some pretty interesting looking shapes, right? So I think this is sort of what one position kind of looked at in the beginning, right? So you can see we did a one-sided entry here. So we only put Sol into the position, and it looks like we did sort of a bid ask for the most part, but then there's also a spot base layer, right? So you can tell because the position it's not starting all the way from close to zero. So there's probably a little bit of spot in here, and then there's a bid ask stacked on top of it. And then over time, the price change, the price moved downwards, right? So probably what whoever had this position did, they withdrew some of their Lucci, I don't know, Lucci. And then they put it back into a bid ask, right? So you can see there's kind of sort of this thin layer of bid ask out here. And so that's always a really nice strategy that you can do, is that as the price is moving down, you can remove, and what's great now, we have one-sided liquidity removals, which is an awesome feature. You can do
things ever.
Yeah, it really is.
This is actually, it's Lucy as in Lucifer. I did this one.
Lucy.
Compounding fees there.
Okay. Yeah. So then here we're compounding fees, right? So whatever fees were earned, they were put back into the position in a bid ask, right?
Yeah.
So you can do that compounding fees. You can also do it by doing a one-sided removal and then redepositing and changing the shape, right? So that's one really nice thing about Meteora, and it's very diverse. You can keep the same position open, remove liquidity from it, and then just drop it back in, and you end up getting a new shape. And then this is one I like to call the toothpaste tube, right? So as the price moves one way or the other, you can remove liquidity, and then you can drop it back into a spot, right? So that way, if it goes back down the other way, you're gonna acquire more of it, more of the other token, right? So in this case, if we pull out liquidity, drop it back into a spot, then when the whatever we acquired more of it, or I'm sorry, we sold more of it, right, at a higher price, and then we're dropping USDC back in a spot, so that way if the price retraces back downwards, we're acquiring more at a lower cost. And that's generally the idea, right? When you're reshaping your liquidity, you want to reshape it so that when price moves against you back the other way, you're gonna acquire more of it if it's moving down, or if the price is moving up, you're gonna be selling more of it, right? So a lot of times, people providing liquidity, they like to do that, and they like to use bid ask, right? Bid ask is great for that. It's always nice to have sort of a spot base and then bid ask on top of it. So, and that's kind of what we have here in this position. So this looks like it's mostly bid ask, not too much of a spot. But what happens is, as the price moves up, more and more of it's going to be swapped to USDC. So then you have more USDC and you have less SOL. So if you move up, significant amount into the SOL range, what you can do then is pull out the liquidity, drop it back into a bid ask, and then you're kind of like locking in your profits at that point, in a way, because now you have more USDC, and now your new position is setting you up to acquire more of it if there is a retracement back down, and then you're going to sell more of it at a higher price as it goes back up, if it goes back up. I love this post by Ewan. so Ewan posted this. This is some time ago now, July 24th, right?
It makes me laugh every time.
So and this is it, right? So when the price is dumping, you're going to be in a bid ask, and you're going to put your liquidity one-sided down below the range, down below the current price. So that way, when the price drops more, you're acquiring more of it at a lower price. And then when it pumps, you do the opposite, right? You put the token that you're providing liquidity for, you put it back in, you put it into a bid ask, once again, one-sided back the other way, and then that way, as the price moves up, you're selling more of it at a higher price. And then, so here's a nice sort of diagram here, right? So at this point in the past, right, at around in 1800 hours, the position was open with one-sided SOL, and then you can see over time and with a bid ask, right? So with a bid ask, one-sided SOL, over time the token was dropping in value, and then down here is when you flip it, right? So that's when you flip it. So basically, you remove the liquidity, because all of it at that point is now Billy, and you just drop it right back in, and you can drop it into the same range. You don't even have to close the position. You can leave the position open, just remove all the liquidity, drop it back into a bid ask, and then as the price moves back up, you're going to sell more of it at a higher price. And the whole time you're doing this, you're earning fees, which is, that's really the best part of it, right? So you're kind of getting paid to trade instead of paying fees to trade. That's the best thing about using the LMM and bid ask.
So there's a couple people looking for an explanation. I mean, it's not really complicated. The bid ask flip, it's just kind of like you start out one-sided, say with just SOL, and you set it in the bid ask. So it's in that triangle there where at the current price point, there's the least amount of tokens. And as the price goes down, you have the most amount of your SOL. So you're buying more of the token at a cheaper price. Okay. And then whenever you think it's time for that token to pump, you think, maybe you've reached the end of the range or you've gotten there, you turn it around, you withdraw, because all that token is now turned into whatever other coin. You turn it around, you flip it the other way. It's just that simple, because you want to sell more of the token at a higher price. The name of it's just like trading: buy low, sell high.
Yep, it really is. It really is. All right. Well, you know what? I think this is a great time for us to actually get into it, because the best way to understand it is to see it in action. So let's switch over to demo this so you guys can actually see it.
LFG.
All right. See my screen there?
Yes.
Awesome. All right. So you guys saw this yesterday in yesterday's session with Otto. So this is the DLMM, and we're going to be in DLMM strictly today. We're not going to do any dynamic pools. And so if you look at the list here, I think by default it's going to sort by 24-hour volume. So you're going to see all the different pairs that have had the highest volume in the past 24 hours. Of course, Sol is always at the top of the list. Lots of liquidity here, lots of volume. And if your risk tolerance is maybe somewhere in the middle, Sol USDC is a good one. If your risk tolerance is a bit lower, right? Like you're like totally, you really want to try to do your best to preserve your capital. JLP USDC is a great one, and this one sees a lot of volume. And the nice thing is you can go into a fairly tight range here and not experience a lot of impermanent loss or divergence loss, and you can earn some pretty good fees. So JLP USDC is sort of like not even less volatile than Sol, because what happens is this is the token that sits behind the liquidity on Jupiter Perps. So if you go to Jupiter Perps, you'll see a little button up here. It says earn 89.58. And basically what this is all of the fees in Jupiter Perps, well, not all of them, 75% of the fees actually go back into the pool. So what happens is people open positions in here and then they're borrowing against their position. So the interest that they pay and the fees that they pay for opening and closing positions, all of that is going back into the JLP token. I'm sorry, not all of it. 75% of it is going back into the JLP token. And that results in almost 100% APY. And so what happens is it's basically like a mutual fund, right? So, or an ETF. And it's got all these targets for these 5 tokens, right? So Sol, ETH, WRAP, BTC, USDC, and USDT. The biggest allocation goes to Sol. So 47% target on Sol. And then the second biggest is USDC with a 26% target. So what happens is when Sol pumps, JLP generally also tends to trend upwards, but it doesn't move up at as high a rate, right? Because it's got a lot of USDC in it as well. Same thing when it dumps, it doesn't drop as much as Sol does because it's also got weighting in USDC. So and there's all kinds of magic that happens to make sure these weightings, as liquidity comes in and out of the Jupiter Perps, then everything gets adjusted automatically. So so that's a nice token to look at if your risk tolerance is even lower than your risk tolerance might be if you were to provide liquidity on Sol. Then you start getting into some utility tokens like Magic Eden. Then you get into some memes as well, like Graphane and Fartcoin. So I'm not going to get like too crazy degen in this presentation, but I'm going to show you guys, I'm going to get into this one, Graphane. So I've actually been LPing this one in the 20 bin step and 0.2% fee pool. This one's been pretty good, and it's generating some pretty decent fees. So you can see it's providing about 7% in the past 24 hours over the TVL. And so what that means is over the past 24 hours, the fees, if you divide that by this TVL right now, which is 158,000, it's generated about 7%. Now, that's for all the liquidity in the pool, for the entire range of the liquidity in the pool. Let's go into that pool and take a look at it. So I'm going to click here to add a position. And what's nice is when you go to add a position, you can see the distribution of the liquidity in the pool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in like a minus 20%. So we can go really wide, and I'm going to go plus 20% on the other side. So, and actually there's liquidity even beyond that. Let's go 30% and see. All right. So this value, this 7.43%, that's all the liquidity across in the whole pool. So that's liquidity across this entire range, right? So if you put liquidity all the way in this whole range from minus 20% all the way up to plus 30%, you would earn 7%. You would have earned 7% in the past 24 hours. Now, I don't think we're going to do that, right? That's really, really wide. It's really unlikely that it's going to move that much in that period of time, right? So if we concentrate our liquidity more towards where the price action is, we're going to beat that 7%. Okay, so we're going to earn more than that. So typically, I like to open positions one-sided, but you can do it two-sided as well. But first thing we want to do is really look at the chart, right? Understand how this thing is trending. So I'm going to go to GMGN, and I'm going to copy our token contract address here. I'm going to put it into GMGN. And we're going to look it up. We're going to see how this thing has been trending. Let's take a look at the last 5 days. All right, so we're on a 1 minute chart here. So you can see I've got the volume profile visible range here. You can turn that off if you want. I've also got a couple of other indicators. I've got volume down here on a separate chart. And I also like to look at the average volume to see how it's been trending. So I've got a smooth moving average of the average volume down there as well. That's the blue line you see. And then down here we've got the MACD, the what is it, the moving average convergence divergence indicator. So we can see over the past 5 days we've had a range from about and another thing, by default I think GMGN will show it USD value. I always like to do it SOL value, right? Because if I'm in a Graphane SOL pair, I want to see it charted against SOL, not USDC. So that's important to make sure you're in the right denomination here. So let me click on the 5 day again. So we can see we've ranged from about 0.00195 down to about 0.00305926. Another nice tool in here in the charting tool is the measuring tool. That's nice to see sort of, what sort of percentage range you're seeing, right? So if I click here, it starts to draw a measurement, right? So if I look here, from here to here, it's about 18%. If I go all the way from here down to here, that's 58%. And then if I go above, I see it's an increase from that line to here of about 24%. From there up to here, it's about 42%. So when you're looking at this chart, you want to kind of see where there's been retracement, and then it kind of bounces and then moves back the other way. So if you look at this chart, you can see there's sort of a point of resistance. I'm going to draw a line here. We'll do an extended horizontal line. You can kind of see like here is kind of a good point of resistance, right? And why is this a point of resistance? Well, we can see here we went down to this price and then it bounced back up, right? And then if we go further back in time, we can see that previously, I'm sorry, did I say resistance? I meant support, right? So here it's a support level, right? Because we went down to this point and then we bounced off of it and we went back up, right? So that means that we're supported at this level, right? So at this level, there's a tendency for it to revert and kind of bounce back up. But if we go further back in time, we can see that sort of the same level where it's support now. In the past, it was an area of resistance, right? So here, in resistance meaning here we were trending upwards, and then we hit that point of resistance, and then we bounced back down, right? And then we went back up towards it again, and then we had resistance there. It bounced back down again, right? So back in the past, this point was also a point of resistance. So I'm sorry, yeah, resistance. So here it's support, here's resistance. So generally, if you find a support level that was previously a resistance level, that's kind of a good sign that, okay, we definitely got a good level of support here. And what does it really mean, support level? Like, what does it mean? Why is there support level? So what happens is it's a point where a lot of people start buying, right? So people see it trend down to this level and they're like, oh man, this is a great entry point. It's finally hit that level of resistance. That's where I'm going to buy. So that's why we see support there. And then where it's resistance, what happens with resistance, right? What causes resistance? Resistance is where people see, you know what, I'm going to take profit here, right? So maybe they entered further down here and now they want to start taking profits, right? So when you see that point of resistance, it means people are selling at that price, right? So it means, you know what, people are just getting out, right? So it hits that point of resistance and people decided, you know what, I'm selling, I want to take my profits. They see it come back down to a new support level, right? So we can see here, we've got support. People were buying here, right? So at this point, people saw, oh, you know what, I'm going to get back in, I'm going to buy. Resistance again here, people sold. And then support here, people bought, right? So you're looking for these support and resistance levels. And what you want to do is you want to set your liquidity at the support and resistance levels, right? So what happens is you're gonna want to see the price of the token bounce between those levels, and the more it bounces between those levels, the better for you, because the more opportunity you have to generate fees. So I'm thinking a good point to put the bottom end of our range is at this support level, so at like 0.011 maybe. So I'm going to add a position here. So a nice feature in these TradingView charts. So all these charts are supported by TradingView. Like all of these tools, GM, GN, DEX tools, DEX Screener, they all use TradingView for their charts, which is nice because it's all very consistent. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on where this resistance level is. And actually, I'm going to do it not actually on the line. And I'm going to do copy price. So this is a really nice feature. You can copy price from the chart, and then you can just paste it in here. So then now we've got our lower level of our range. So you can see it's about a 20% drop. And if we look at our measurement tool and we click here and then we go down, we can see, you know, it's about 17%. If I go down a little bit more, it's about 20%. So so we're going to go down on the low end. And again, this is conservative, right? We're looking pretty far back in time at the support level. We last hit the support level. This is my local time. So this was 6 a.m., right? So we kind of bounced off of this at around, it's like 4 a.m. So around 4:30 a.m., we bounced off this resistance level. It's not that long ago, right? So that was roughly, it's almost noon now. So, you know, maybe that was 8 hours ago. So in an 8-hour period, we saw, you know, about a 20% swing. So I think that's probably a good level. I don't want to watch this all day, all night. Now the one thing is that this is going to go across 147 bins, right? The largest number of bins you can have in a single position is 69. It's due to limitations on the blockchain and storage and things like that. So there's a technical limitation that you can't have any more than 69 bins in a position. So if I were to do a bid ask in this range, and then, you know, let's say I did it from 0. So I just did it all the way from the current price. It would do it across 112 bins. And it's going to do that. So that would be across 2 positions, right? So 2 positions would have roughly 140 bins. So it's going to put it across 2 positions. If I do it in a bid ask, unfortunately, it's going to create a sawtooth pattern, right? It's going to do bid ask for the first position. And then the second position is going to start back at 0 instead of starting at where the top of that position is. So you do need to be careful when you're doing bid ask positions that you don't exceed 69 bins, because if you do, you're going to end up with that sawtooth pattern. So one thing that you can do is if you end up opening a position across multiple ranges, if you end up having to do multiple positions, you may want to go ahead and just do a spot. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a spot. So let's say, I've got 1 SOL in my wallet. Let's say we want to enter a total of, I don't know, half a sol in this position. And you guys don't have to do the same amounts. You can do smaller amounts if you want. You can do bigger amounts if you want. Again, don't put in any more than you're willing to risk and lose, right? So let's say total I want 0.5 sol. And maybe what I'll do is I'm going to start with a small spot just so it'll open up the positions for me. So this is roughly 20% of what I want to invest. And actually, I'm going to turn off autofill because I don't have any graphene yet. Maybe I'll go ahead and trim this off again to 0. Let's do, if I do 0.1, it'll set it to 0. All right, so this is going to give me 2 positions. I could even do less than 0.1. Let's just do 0.05. All right.
Hey, Geek.
Yes, sir.
Question on screen for you here.
Okay. I can't see the screen. Hold on.
It says spot tends to be safer, though, in guarding against impermanent loss, right? And I think they're meaning like in comparison to bid ask.
Actually, bid ask is better for preserving against impermanent loss, and the reason is, let me so like if I click bid ask, all right, just because it's painting it this way doesn't mean it's going to actually open the positions this way. It's gonna do bid ask in one position, and then the next position is going to start from 0, and it's going to do bid ask again. So you get that sawtooth pattern. But just to demonstrate why bid ask is going to help preserve you against impermanent loss, what you could actually consider this to be like a series of a bunch of different orders to buy, right? So you could think about it as if you were trading on a trading platform. This would generate 109 orders for you, right? And each of those orders is going to have a slightly increasing amount of sol in each order, right? So all the way starting from over here, our order is going to have a very small amount of sol, right? A bunch of zeros, 1668. As we decrease in price, you can see we're spending more sol, right? So this order down here has a lot more sol than the orders down here, right? So my average price is going to be closer to the bottom of my range, right? So my average price might be, I don't know, somewhere around in here. So if you look at the full range, my average price would probably be, I don't know, down here somewhere, right? It's not going to be up here. But if I were to do it as a spot, my average price is going to be right in the middle, right? Because if you look at all these orders, they're going to be the same all the way across. So you're going to experience more impermanent loss, right? Because if the price goes all the way down out of the range down here, my average price is going to be right in the middle. But if I do it a bid ask and the price goes all the way down, my average price is going to be somewhere down here, right? So I'm going to have less impermanent loss because I would have bought more of it at a cheaper price instead of being right in the middle. So if you want to be more conservative, you want to invest more often using bid ask. But again, be careful that you're not going over 69 bins because you're going to get that sawtooth pattern. In fact, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and do it just so you guys can see what I'm talking about.
The TLDR, buy low, sell high.
Buy low, sell high, right? And that's what bid ask does for you, right? You're gonna buy more of it low, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and do this. I don't. So you guys don't follow along with me on what I'm doing here. I just want to demonstrate this. If you're gonna follow along, do it in a spot, not in a bid ask.
If you would, Geek, someone asked if you could show the fees about opening position with low. So just expand the fee breakdown.
Yes.
When you do this.
Yes.
I mean, we covered this yesterday, but
yeah, no, this is important. So, so if you notice down here, it's telling me it's going to create 2 positions, and then it's going to cost me 0.11 sol, right? And then if I scroll down further, I can see that 0.11 sol is refundable, right? And the reason being is that the bin arrays have already been created in this range. So that means that people have already created the accounts that are necessary on the blockchain in order for people to be able to provide liquidity in this range. Okay. if I put like minus 99%, it's probably going to blow up. But you can see now it's 52 positions. So
Holy
because
crap.
it's a much wider range, but you can see now I also have to buy a bunch of new bin arrays, right? And that would cost me 3 sol to buy all those bin arrays, right? Because nobody has ever provided liquidity in this range, because it would be stupid, right? Because the price, is very unlikely that the price is going to go down that far. So, um, so that's just a good demonstration. So be careful when you're opening new bin arrays. If you're dealing with small amounts, you probably don't want to be opening liquidity in that range, because you're going to end up, spending money on a bin arrays that you may not be able to afford, right?
Yeah, and so and further on the point, if you're entering a pool with very low liquidity, like if the pool is empty, well, number one, there's probably a reason why that pool is empty. It may not be a very good pool for that pair, but pay attention, because if something's got very low liquidity and you're adding to it, please pay attention, because you could be creating new bin arrays. There's a reason why that pool is empty. It
Yep.
may be brand new, but if it's a pool that's been open for a while, there's a reason why it's empty. Pay attention to what you're paying before you click, because non-refundable means non-refundable.
That's right. That's right.
Can't get
And
it back. Bin arrays and pools cannot be destroyed.
right. And to Heavy Metal Cook's point, what happens is a lot of times, people pull out liquidity and then the pool is empty, and then the price is moved on that token, and then so it's highly likely that pool is not even synced up with the current price of the token. Now there is a feature in Meteora where you can sync the price, and then so that'll help you get back to where the actual price is. But more than likely, you're going to end up having to pay for new bin arrays when you open a position, because the token has never traded in that price range for that pool, right? So, all right. So I'm gonna do this. Don't do this. I'm gonna open this bid ask. I'm just gonna show you guys what I'm talking about with that sawtooth pattern. So let me put this back to 0. Looks like it's actually been kind of trending downwards since we've been talking here. All right. So I'm gonna add liquidity, and so oops, we got bin slippage. So I'm gonna actually adjust my my liquidity slippage. I'm gonna just set it high here, so we don't care how much price movement we get. Typically, I mean, it's really up to you. So what this means is, if the price were to move down or up more than 30%, then the transaction is going to fail. So this will protect you from opening a position when there's a huge swing in price as you're trying to open the position. So I'm not that concerned. This token's not moving that much, so I'm okay setting it high. Another thing to look at is your priority fees. So I like to start off by setting these about as low as possible, like less than a penny, especially since I've got a wallet here with only 1 sol. I don't want to be spending a lot on transactions. So I just put a bunch of zeros here and then 1. So it's like 0.22 cents. Now, if I find I'm having trouble landing transactions, then at that point I might remove one of these zeros, right, and then increase it to about 2 cents, right? If it gets even worse, then maybe I'll increase it to like 11 cents. But I'm going to start off really small. I don't think there's a lot of activity on the blockchain, being that it's a weekend, so I think we'll be fine with a small max cap on our priority fee. You can also try doing Jito or mixed. A few weeks ago, these mixed and Jito were working better, but it seems like the Solana team has kind of fixed issues with the priority fees and stuff, so it's been working pretty well. So I've been doing priority fee. I'm going to set it at 0.0022. I'm sorry, it's equal to 0.0022 cents. All right, so let's go ahead and open this position. Don't do this. This is for demonstration purposes only. So we can see we're creating 2 transactions, 2 positions. And hopefully we land both of these transactions. Oh, we didn't land one of them. All right, so I probably, maybe because of the fee or maybe slippage, I'm not sure. I'm going to try retrying and see if we land that. Of course not. All right. Of course, when you try to demo something, it doesn't work. All right, so we ended up with one position here. It's a much shorter range than what I actually wanted. I'm going to withdraw and close this. Let's try it again. So pasting in my lower range. I'm going to do a small amount. I'm going to do bid ask. I'm going to put 0 from my upper range. And then let's try this again. So I may need to increase my fee a little bit. Oh, we got it. All right. So we landed the transactions. We went up out of range on the upper range. So here's our upper range position. So we're from 0.11 0.001355. And then here you can see we got that sawtooth pattern, right? Because we're not starting. So here at the end of our range, we're providing 3 zeros and 3141. Down here we're starting at almost 0, right? So we get kind of that sawtooth pattern, which is not what we want. So I'm gonna go ahead and let's close this out. Let's just do spot all the way around, and then so we'll do this in a manner where you guys can follow along.
Just time check. We got 1 hour.
Okay.
We're doing good.
Okay, great. Thanks. I appreciate that.
Yep.
Any questions out there right now that need answering?
Well, here's one if you want to cover it on screen.
Okay.
If on the charts, for example, chart Fart 7 Sol appear on a bullish pattern for one of that coin, what would be the best strategy to can buy the bullish coin with the pool and get out of range when the pattern break out?
Okay.
I read that word for word.
Yeah, so if you're bullish on a token, I would recommend a one-sided, but one-sided where you buy the token, right? So you can swap to purchase a token, and then you go one-sided on the upper side, right? So let's say if this token we were bullish on and we owned some of it, we can create a new position and we would go one-sided this way, right? So maybe here let's say we're bullish on graphene, right? And we think, all right, you know what, it's going to go back up to this price, this 0018. So we would start at 0 and then go 0018, right? So we'd put our upper range to go up 30%, and then however much graphene we have, we put it in there. And it's up to you if you want to do spot or bid ask. If you're really bullish, you'd probably go bid ask. That way you sell a lot more of it up at the higher range versus the lower range. If you want to sort of earn more fees as it ranges upwards, then spot would be good for that. But that would be generally what you want to do if you're bullish on something. You just, if you own the token, you probably already own the token, right? If you're bullish on it. So you could put it into a one-sided position like this, where it's all on the upper end of the range.
So someone's put up one that's important that I think we cover. We've talked about it some, but I think we need to cover it just a little bit more. When you go outside, it's when you go out of range, what's your best option? There's many answers to that.
That's a great question. So I guess it's one of those answers that it depends, right? So
Yeah.
it all depends on your risk tolerance. It all depends if you want to realize losses or not. So it all depends on your strategies. So for instance, if we go out of range on the bottom, on graphene, right? And I have conviction about the token. I might do one of two things, right? So I might double down on it and open a new position down below and go down to an older resistance level, right? So say it dumped down to here. What I might do is open a new position and go back further in time to find another resistance level, right? So I might do something like this. Double down on it, maybe and put the bottom of the range down here, right? So then I'm gonna provide more liquidity down here. I'm gonna catch it. I'm gonna buy more of it as the price drops, and I'm gonna be generating fees the whole time. So that's one thing you might want to do. If your strategy is once I hit the bottom of my range, that's it, I'm out, I'm not putting any more into this, then you either wait for it to come back into range or you just close the position and then go move on to another token. So it really all depends on your level of conviction, your level of risk tolerance, whether or not you're willing to put more money into it, whether or not you think it's going to come back in the range. So like if it just kind of comes a little bit below where that resistance level, right? Because these resistance levels are kind of soft, right? It's not like a hard line. Once it drops below that line, that's it, I'm out, I'm not going to touch this thing ever again. It may hover around that level for a while, right? And it may come back into your range, in and out of your range, and you'll generate some fees when it comes back into range. But then at some point, it may finally reverse and come back into your range. So, if you feel good that you've set very good resistance levels and you think it's going to come back into range, a lot of times the best strategy is to do nothing. Just wait for it to come back into range. So hopefully that helps to answer that question. That's a very good question. Thanks for that, Heavy Metal Cook, and
Yep.
that the asker of that question. All right. So let's follow along now. So I like you guys to follow along. I'm going to go. So I think what I want to do here is I want to go partially one-sided. Actually, I don't know. So let's draw an upper end of our range here. So I think we've got some pretty good resistance up here, right? So we had some peaks up here. We kind of tried to hit this level. We never really hit it. We never got up here. Here again, we had some resistance. We came back down. Here we had resistance at a little bit of a lower price. So one thing you can do is if you want to generate more fees, get a little bit closer to the actual price. So I think that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to draw another line here. So I'm going to make this the upper end of my range. And if we zoom in here, we can see we're pretty close to the middle of the range here. So, you could do maybe, I don't know, 40%. So you could do a swap or maybe even do 50% and just do 50-50 and in this range. So I'm going to copy this price here. Let me deselect the line. I'll put it a little bit above it, give us some room. And I'm going to put that price as my upper range. And let me see if I can put these ranges in chat so you guys have them in chat. Give me a second. I got to find our chat window. All right. So that's my lower range and that's my upper range. All right. So we're going to try that. Let's see how we do. And we see we're going to end up opening two positions. Now, one thing is we need to get some graphene first because we don't have any, right? So if I want to do a 0.5 position, I need to swap 0.25 to get some graphene. So I'm going to show you guys a little trick, actually. So you guys can follow along with this as well. So I want 0.25 worth of graphene. So I'm going to put 0.25 in here. All right, so that's roughly 185 graphene, and that's 0.25. So I'm going to create a position, 0.25. I'm going to put it at the current price or one bin below, depending on what's going on here. So if I look here, this bin is about 50-50. The current bin is about 50-50 graphene and SOL. So I'm going to go into the bin right below it. I'm going to put all 0.25 of my SOL in there. So whatever half of the position that you want to open, go ahead and create a 1 bin position right below the current price of half of your position amount. So my position is going to be a total of 0.5. I'm going to put 0.25 right here. Now, you do have to be patient with this, because what happens is we want the price to drop, right? We want the price to fall into our range so that we essentially perform a swap, and we get paid to perform a swap. That's what's really cool about this strategy. But it does require some patience. So, and we already moved up. It already moved up. So I'm already 1 bin away from where I wanted to be. So sometimes you have to chase it. I'm gonna chase it for a little bit here. I don't want to spend too much time doing this if it's not going to work, but let's see if we can make it work. Let's see. Yeah, I'm going to put it right below. In 1 single bin. See what happens. Of course, price went right over it. So if I had stayed in the other one.
Patience, Daniel-san.
Patience, Daniel-san. Oh, you know what? So the current bin has all SOL in it. So I'm going to go ahead and go in the current bin. The reason I do that is because the reason I look to see what the current bin has, because basically what happens is if that bin has both tokens, you end up essentially immediately getting swapped to the other token, and you'll end up paying basically a 0.2% fee, right? Because we're in the 0.2% pool. So that's why I check to see if the pool has graphene in it or if it has SOL. So it had all SOL, so I was good to put SOL in it. But if it had like mostly graphene, I basically would have immediately swapped to graphene, and then I would not have received fees for that. So that's the reason I do it like that.
We got one question here that I think is a good one.
Sure.
Sometimes we get error like price is different on Meteora than it's on Jupiter. Do we need to wait till Meteora and Jupiter price matches, or is it okay to just add liquidity? And that's not a simple answer. If the pool is like empty, say it's got no liquidity in it, or it's got no liquidity at the current price point, it's not going to move. And in certain situations, there's a sync button at the top that will sync that, but there can't be any liquidity between that current price and where it is now. You will see that, however, on say meme coins with like especially ones with like a high fee percentage, maybe at 2 or 5%. And because Jupiter is giving you the best price, right, or giving the swapper the best price, okay, and on those higher fees that may not be the best price, so the price in the market may be moving away from it, but no swaps have happened yet here for that price to move. So the price in the pool depends on swaps going through the pool. Okay, so you actually encounter a little bit of arbitration there. It just depends on what's happening in the market and the settings of the pool. A lot of your degens, they'll go for these higher fees because they'll accept that small amount of arbitration it's happening because the fees offset it, and it's worth it. I don't know if I explained that well enough, but there's multiple reasons for it. You just kind of have to like look at it and think about it and say, okay, how far apart is this price from that price?
Yeah, that's right. All right. Thank you for answering that question.
Yeah.
I got sick of chasing the price, so I'm just going to swap it. But that is a cool trick. And if it's a smaller bin step pool, usually the token price will be oscillating a lot more, so it's a little bit easier to do. Unfortunately, it wasn't coming down into my range, so I'm just going to go ahead and swap it. So I'm going to swap on Jupiter half of what I want my total position to be. So I'm going to put 0.25 sol, and we're going to get some graphene here. All right, we got our graphene. I don't know how to pronounce that, but I'm going to keep butchering it. If I'm butchering it, I don't care. All right, so let's go back to our range. So I think I put my upper range first. I don't remember. And then our lower range here. Okay. Is that right? Is that the range I said? Yes. Okay. 02, 01, 001, 261, and then 15. All right. And then is that the lines I had on my chart? 00. No, I'm sorry. I think I gave you guys the wrong range. Well, let's see. Let's see what happens if we did that. If we do that range, let's see what our resistance or what our lines look like. I'm gonna paste that price here. Yeah, that's a little bit tighter than what I want. So hold on. I gave you guys the wrong range. Let's go down to here. So we're going to go down to here, and then we're going to go up to here. Copy price. All right. So I'm going to enter these numbers in the chat again. All right. And we're just going to go spot. I'm not going to do bid ask. So this is going to open up. Whoa, I'm just going to be like 3 positions. Hold on. Let me bring that in just a tiny bit. Let's try 12.5%. 139. That should give me 2 positions, right? HMC. No, that's going to give me 3. Shit. All right, let's try 12.
Oh, yeah.
137. What is it? 69 times 2. I don't know my 69 times table. 138.
No.
All right, so that should do it. So I'm going to give you guys the range again. So we're going to go like this. Yeah, 138 is the max. So you want to be below 138. So 136 is probably okay. Let's do a spot, and we're gonna do 0.25 sol and then 0.25 graphene. And it's gonna look a little bit. Oh no, not 0.25 degree. All of it. It's gonna look a little bit lopsided, right? Because we're a little bit closer to the top of our range than the bottom of our range, and that's okay. That's okay. So let's go ahead and do it like this. Let's add liquidity. Hopefully we don't fail. Hopefully if we fail on both and not just one, because that's going to be a pain in the ass.
For real.
Yeah. All right. Sweet. We got them both. Hopefully you guys also got both.
So someone put on here, how do you understand if it's 1 position or 2? I just click spot and add liquidity lol. I never ever set anything from below side. Well, it's pretty simple. If you'll just put any number in the token there, Geek.
Yep.
Just enter something here. Okay, so we scroll down and you'll see right here, let me hide this. Sol needed to create 1 positions, 0.05. Okay, that's 1 position. He'll expand this here. And you see here, we're creating 1 positions. If he was creating 2 positions, it would say 2 positions and it'd be double that price.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically, the default is to create 1 position and to do it across 69 bins.
And just to tack on to that, button mashing is how people get in trouble. Pay attention to what you're doing before you do it, because if you do something and you spent money that you didn't mean to spend, man, there's nothing anybody can do but help you but say you
Guilty.
learned, you paid for a lesson there.
Guilty as charged. I
Yeah.
do that all the time. I'm still learning to read. Reading is hard.
Yeah, reading is hard.
I love to click buttons. Clicking buttons is so fun. And I don't read and I click buttons and I screw stuff up. So yeah. Good advice from the cook. All right, so that's it. We're printing. So what's happened here, right? So we can easily see by the position kind of where the price was when we opened, right? So we can see we've got the more graphene up here, and then down here is where the SOL landed, right? So now we're 2 bins below where we opened the position, right? But now the price is starting to come back up again. And if you look up here, this is, so if we have multiple positions, right? So we've got one that goes from 001139 to 001304, and then a second position that goes from 001307 to 001488. And then if we look up here, we kind of see the total summary of both positions. So across both positions, we've got 186.16 graphene, and we've got 0.246794 SOL. So we've got impermanent loss or divergence loss, right? And divergence loss is not something that happens when you close a position. It's happening all the time, right? So we've already got divergence loss. The likelihood that I ever get back exactly 0.25 SOL and exactly 184 whatever graphene I started with is virtually impossible, right? So be aware of that when you open these positions. If you really like the token and you want to keep it, it's possible that if the price pumps, you're going to end up with a lot more SOL and a lot less token, and you're gonna basically, so what's happening is people are swapping through this pool, and so the amount of each token is changing, right? If somebody wants to buy graphene, they're putting SOL into it, and so that graphene basically changes from graphene to SOL, and then you have SOL entering the pool and graphene exiting, right? So what's happened since we opened this position, we had graphene enter the pool and SOL exit the pool. So it's driven down the price. So now we have more graphene and less SOL. And we can see that in our position, and the same goes for the entire pool. So, and you can see here, we're printing some fees as well. Yeah, go ahead.
There are some questions about how to find good opportunities, good pairs, and I know that we talked a little bit about some of the community tools in Discord.
Mm-hmm.
We can talk about like some of the Metlex tools.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's a great question. So, all right, so we'll come back to this in a little bit later, kind of see how we're doing with our position. Let's go over to Metlex. Let's check it out. So the best place to look for really degen stuff is the DLMM 100. So if you click on the DLMM 100, you'll see all the pools come up in here. You probably want to sort to see what's providing the highest fees. You want to see where there's activity. So one thing I like to do is filter by volume. So we want to see tokens where we've actually had swaps happening in the last 5 minutes. So I'm going to click on this one. So all of these pools have had activity in the past 5 minutes. Another one you can sort is I like to sort by the 24-hour fee per TVL. It's kind of a good starting point, but it's not necessarily gospel. What happens a lot of times with the ones that are showing you like super high amounts, it means that a lot of times it's because a whale exited the pool. So a whale was in there providing liquidity, printed lots of fees. So the back end, it knows how many fees were printed in the past 24 hours. So here we can see this pool generated about 9,000 in fees. But there's probably less liquidity in the pool now than there was at the time that those fees were generated. So highly likely there was a whale in there. The whale pulled out. Now it may be that the liquidity has been exactly the same for the past 24 hours. Very, very unlikely. So that's one thing you have to kind of look out for. But it's a good starting point. The other thing I really like about Alex's tool here is that it shows you the amount of volume by each of the time steps, right? So here we see there's been 3 swaps and 3 sell swaps, right, in the past 5 minutes in this Winnie Soul pool, right? Here we've had 1 swap. Here we've had 1 swap. So generally speaking, I like to see stuff that's more active. 3 swaps in the last 5 minutes isn't bad. I also like to see where swaps are happening on both sides, right? Both buying and selling. So that means you're going to be flipping back and forth, right? So that means you got some price action. Excuse me.
And someone's asked if you could show again how to filter.
Sure. Filters are up here, up at the top. So right now,
Can you zoom in here?
yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah, you're good.
Excuse me. All right. Whoa, too much zoom, I think. All right.
There we go.
So we got filter by volume. We got a typo there. Filer by volume. Filter by volume. 5 minutes. So we're gonna click that check mark, and that's gonna tell us pools that have only pools that have had any volume in the past 5 minutes. And then you can sort by volume if you want. Or you can sort by 24-hour fee. You know what? Let's sort by 5-minute volume. Let's see what happens. We're probably going to get a lot of the big pools like Soul and Jupe here. Let's try this again. Sort by volume. Okay. So sorting by 5-minute volume, we see Fartcoin has had a lot of volume in the last 5 minutes. So actually, you know what? I think I like this sort better than the 24-hour fee, because this is more real, right? We know we've had that volume in the past 5 minutes. So this pool is obviously seeing a significant volume. So that might be a good place to provide liquidity. It's had some swaps on both sides, both buys and sells. The Graphene Soul. So of course, this is the pool that we're in, right? I really love to see this, right? This is fantastic because, you know, we've had a lot of buys and sells. So we've getting swaps back and forth on both sides. That's great for generating fees. So you want to see volume on both sides. If you see volume only on one side, that means that, you know, there could be a correction taking place, and the token is moving in that one price. Now, if you're looking for an entry point into a pool and you see a lot of sells, then, you know, if that selling pressure continues, it might be a good opportunity to go in one-sided with Soul. So like Fartcoin looks like it's seen some sell pressure. You know, it has seen some buys, so maybe it's a little bit on a rebound. So, you know, that's also something to consider. Let's see if we see any others that have had kind of the sort of even volume that we're seeing with Graphene. Yeah, it looks like a lot of this stuff is kind of one-sided. Here's one that maybe ARC is maybe seeing a little bit of both, but if you look at the 5-minute, 1 hour, 6 hour, it looks like it's still kind of trending downwards. So Jail Soul looks like it's trending upwards, right? We've got more buys and sells, and our 5-minute volume. I'm sorry, our 5-minute price change has increased by 10%. Jail Soul might be a good one. This one, Jail Soul. I think that was the same one we just saw. So yeah, Metlex tool is really good. There's also the Discord bot that I created.
Yeah.
So you can go in there and you can find opportunities there as well.
Hey, can you click on the magical tab here? This is a new.
Yeah.
This is beautiful. Yeah, go ahead and just click the rocket to show all rugs. And so you can do filters here, but what's beautiful about this is it's actually going to show you some charting information pulled from GMGN. The LFG button there, that's it's going to take you to that specific pool. But this is a cool little thing here where you can see like the volume and the TVL, today's fees, all these things. But you can like do your charting right here, like see what's hot, see what's not, what's pumping, what's dumping, where to party. That's
Yeah.
one of the cool new things.
Yeah, that's a cool tool, and you can see kind of how it's been trending. Looks like by default we get a 1 hour chart, so you can always go in here and go 5 minutes, zoom in and out. Yeah, that's a nice feature as well. It's a little bit slow with all these charts in here, but
Yeah,
it's cool to see everything in one page, in one view.
we could probably do an entire course on all the things on Metlex and your tool and.
Yep, for sure. Let's go back to our graphene. So look, we got some fees here. Let's see what's happened to our price. So looks like price is moving down, right? Because we've got more graphene now, a little bit less SOL. So we're still in this position. So we're kind of moving down through here. Now, one thing you can do over time, like say we went completely out of range on this one. And actually looks like we're just about to do that. So
yes.
all right,
So
this is perfect. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna withdraw my liquidity. And it looks like we're gonna get back a tiny bit of SOL, but that's okay. So I'm gonna reshape it. So I'm gonna put it back in. I'm gonna put half of it as a spot. I'm gonna add it back in. And then I'm gonna put the other half as a bid ask. So now, as the price moves up, we're gonna sell less of it at a lower price and sell more of it at a high price. And I've got that spot underneath it, so that way we're kind of always generating at least some minimum amount of fees with that spot. So that's sort of like the general idea of reshaping your strategy. Yeah, go ahead.
I didn't say anything.
Oh, sorry. I thought I heard something. And we could do the same thing here. So you know what? Let's reshape this, right? Remember we started off with spot all the way across the board. I'm going to withdraw half of it. And I'm going to copy that amount. I'm going to withdraw liquidity. Oh, looks like we're moving back in range a little bit here. And then I'm going to put the other half in a bid ask. And then I guess I got a little bit of graphene here. I may as well. Well, you know what? I'll leave it out. So now basically we've got a nice bid ask across both of these two positions, and that worked out almost perfectly. Couldn't have done it any better. So now we've got half of our SOL is in a spot, half of our SOL is in a bid ask, and then half of our graphene is in a spot, and then half of our graphene is in a bid ask. And then you can do this if you want, whatever, if you had a little bit of spillover, you can just drop it back into the position, but may as well just hold on to that. So now I really like the way we've got this set up, right? Because if the price pumps, we're gonna sell more of it at a higher price. And then if it dumps, we're going to buy more of it at a lower price. So basically, you'll want to kind of keep an eye on it over, over the course of the day or whatever. If I were to look back at this position and all of a sudden I saw that the price was all the way up here, then I would remove the liquidity and then, again, do like a spot base and then put a bid ask. And then so I would end up with bid ask coming up this way. And then, maybe I do the toothpaste tube, right? And I just leave the rest flat on the other side. Or maybe I do bid ask. There's a lot of different things you can do. Or maybe I take out maybe I do the toothpaste tube and then open a new position up above it and then put that remaining liquidity up above it at an even higher price. So then I sell, some of it at the higher price.
So there was a question here. Can you go over the details of layering? I'm not 100% sure what they're asking here. If that's like just stacking strategies. For me, like talk about putting that base layer of spot and then doing your curve, whatever. It's just to ensure that when it's on the lower end of that, you're still getting some fee generation, because at the very small point of the bid ask, you're really not getting much. So if you think it's going to range a little bit, but you still want to do the buy low, sell high, whatever, that's the thing. I don't know if I've answered the question the way you wanted. And I don't know if you have anything to add to that, Geek, but that
yeah. No, that's it. That's the general idea of having that spot so that you're always generating fees. Because like to HMC's point, if you're in a pure bid ask, so like if I were to open a pure bid ask here, and so you can see, like, if the token were to range like here, maybe from this price up to this price, there's not a lot of liquidity there. So I'm not going to earn a lot of fees. So that's one reason, and that's just my personal preference. I like to have that spot layer. So that way, if it does, find some portion where it's ranging, you get that spot layer to always generate fees.
FYI, we have 23 minutes left.
All right. Let me show you guys some other tools. Well, so actually, I'm going to go into the portfolio here, right? So portfolio, I think you guys saw this yesterday. Portfolio is nice because if you have multiple positions, you can see them all here, and then you can easily navigate to your positions. But we showed you GN. I'm going to talk a little bit more about some more features in here that we really didn't talk about. So if you guys remember from the presentation, there was sort of a little box that looks similar to this. So this is kind of a really nice quick view. Let me zoom this a little bit, actually. Yeah, that's probably better. So a nice quick view of what's gone on in the past 24 hours, 1 hour, 5 minutes, and 1 minute. So if I look at the last 1 minute, I can see this is one really cool feature, right? Here it tells me how many buys and how many sells, and then it tells me net, right? Net buy. So it tells me right now there's a net sell of 8,000, right? Because we've bought 665 and then we've sold 10,000. So that's the net of the two. So that's a really cool thing to keep an eye on. And you can see over time kind of what's happening for the different time steps. So you can see in the last 5 minutes, we're up about 1%. We've got net buys of 42,000. And now somebody just dumped, and now we've got net sell. So those are cool features to see. Generally speaking, you like to see a lot of action on both buying and selling. That's always good for market making. That means there's oscillation taking place, and people are basically swapping your token back and forth at around the same range of prices. And then each time there's a swap, you get a fee. So, and you get a portion of the total fees for that pool. Down here, we can also see what the total liquidity is in each of the tokens. You see the fully diluted value. So that's the full market cap, fully diluted market cap, and then the current market cap Normally, if you're looking at memes, that's going to be the same. We can see that the 24-hour volume, about 36.9 million, and then 26,000 holders. That's a lot of holders. And that's really good to see. That means that there's a lot of people a lot of wallets that have the token. And so generally, the more holders you have, the better it is for providing liquidity, because a lot of people are going to be swapping that back and forth. I've got Metlex. Oh, LP for fun. This is another nice tool that Maddox Bug created. And so here you can see all of your positions that you have open currently. So here we can see I've got Graphane token, and I've got my 2 positions open here. And then down here you can select all, and then view analytics, so you can see some details on your positions. All right, so I think by default we see everything in terms of SOL. Yeah, so right now the current total value is 0.4925 SOL. So this invested amount, that's the total amount that's been withdrawn and redeposited, right? So that's why it shows a higher amount than my actual investment, which was about half a SOL. Right, because yeah, here you can see I did 0.384 sols in withdrawals, and then I've deposited 0.88 sols. So right now my net profit is slight loss, and here we can show the positions, and you can view details. You can actually show all the operations, so you can see here's my position created, adding, removing liquidity. So this is a really nice tool to kind of take a look in your positions and get some analytics on what's going on and see what your overall profitability is. Another nice tool, and I don't know if many folks have talked about this in previous boot camps, is Soul Incinerator by Soul Slugs. So after a while, if you've done a lot of market making, open and closed positions, and you may have accumulated a lot of tokens that you don't even own anymore. And so I had a couple of tokens in this wallet, and I haven't run the cleanup on it yet because I wanted to demonstrate this to you guys. And this is a safe tool to use. Just make sure it's soul-incinerator.com. And you can run a cleanup, right? So I've got 5 vacant accounts right now. So these are accounts where I've got 0 tokens, but I'm paying for rent for having those accounts open. So Soul Incinerator, I can go in here and I can clean it up. And I think it's going to give me back 0.01 SOL. And I don't think you guys can see the confirmation dialog, but it's telling me I'm going to get 0.01 SOL back, and it's a bunch of tokens that nothing's going to change on. So that's it. Here's my transaction. Oh, of course, I'd be remiss if we don't talk about SolScan at least a little bit. So here we can see, here's the transaction I just executed. If we look at SOL balance change, I can see this is my wallet here. I can see it increased by almost 0.01 SOL, right? And so here you can see here's all the accounts where that SOL came from, right? So these are all the token accounts that got closed. So the rent came out of those accounts because those accounts no longer exist. Here you can see the balance went to 0 on all of them, and then the balance on my account went up by 0.001 SOL. And then I think Soul Slugs I don't know if they charge a small fee or not. So this may be the fee that went to them.
It's basically the transaction fee, I guess.
Well, the transaction fee goes to the validator.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's over here. There's a priority fee, and then the transaction fee. So I'm not sure what that other account is. Let's take a look at my wallet here on SolScan, right? So if it comes up. Reload. There we go. So here we can see all the transactions that have taken place on my wallet. Here you can see all the instructions, right, for Meteora, removing liquidity, adding liquidity, so on and so forth. And then there's this DeFi activities tab, which is really nice. And then here I can see everything that I did today with Graphane, right? And then I was doing some swaps right before class to get my SOL balance exactly to 1 SOL to start class. But yeah, here you can see where we open the position. Remember, I was opening and closing, trying to use the liquidity pool to swap. And then here's where we did some other transactions. So this is a nice view as well. You can look at domains. There's all kinds of stuff in SolScan. I think. Oh, and then of course, I guess I would be remiss if I didn't show my own profitability tool. So if I go here, this is the profitability for my wallet, and it'll read the blockchain and read all the transactions that have taken place in the wallet. And we can see we're at a slight loss on Graphane right now.
And I've got this on the bottom ticker, but you could access this from every single pool. This and Metlex are.
That's right.
Both.
Yeah. So if we go back over here to Meteora, over here, community built tools, there's a link to Metlex, and then there's a link to my profit analysis tool. I guess we can go back to the deck. HMC, how many questions?
Yeah, we got 13 minutes. We've got a couple things to cover, including the graduation task.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, let me get back to my share.
Otto joined us.
Otto, what's going on, man?
Yo. My voice is terrible. I was out late. Sorry about the. I got up early for the Meteora State of the Union, and they delayed it an hour and a half, and so I got ruined. I got rugged.
Oh man. Okay.
So I apologize. Sounds great so far, though. Keep going.
All right. You guys see my screen there?
Yes.
All right, great. All right, so I just showed you guys this. So yeah, nice thing about my tool there is you can see your profitability over time. You can see it denominated in the quote token. So the quote token being, the sort of the main token, right? So if you mostly provide liquidity in SOL pools, right, with tokens that are paired with SOL, you can see, how much SOL you've earned over time. You can also see an estimate on your MET points that you've earned from fees. And there's a chart over to the right, to the far right here, that kind of shows by token, where you're winning, where you're losing. So it's a nice little tool to see how you're doing over time with your liquidity market making. All right, so this is the big question that everybody asks: how do I get my roll, right? So if you scan the QR code there, you guys will get the form. Want you guys to fill out that form, provide your information. So what you need to do is you need to open a position, and it has to be a new position. It has to be a position you opened today, right? I don't want a position that you opened yesterday. I don't want a position you opened a week ago. I don't want, your brother's position that he opened today. I want your position that you opened today. And you need to LP a minimum of $100 worth of token, right? So you're in the DLMM, and we're not going to do dynamic pools. It has to be DLMM. Okay. So $100 USD value of your total position, and the position has to be open at least an hour. You can't do stable pairs. So you can't do a USDC, USDT pair. You can't do a SOL paired with a liquidity staking token like Jupe Sol or Jito Sol or anything like that. Has to be some other token. Graphane's a good one. You guys are already, if you guys were following along, if you did more than $100 following along with me, if you can close that position profitably, would be a good one for you to submit. You do have to close the position before submitting, and you have to earn at least 5% profit. So those are the requirements. And I'll tell you, Heavy Metal Cook's a hard ass guy.
I am.
He's not gonna graduate you if you put $90 worth of liquidity in. He's not gonna graduate you if you had a position open for 5 minutes or even 50 minutes, right? Got to be at least an hour. So please, please, please pay attention to these graduation requirements. Follow them diligently. Otherwise, you will not get the role. You will not get the NFT either. So there's an NFT that comes along with this. So
And if I could take 1 minute, I will just tell people where they have the most problems. People will try and put in exactly $100, and the price of the token drops between the time they hit submit and by the time it actually lands. I give very, very tiny variance on that. If it's within $3, okay. Maybe do a little more so you don't get under. Your profit percentage, if it's, I'm not very lenient on that. It's got to be. But what gets people the most is they send in old positions. I mean, I had one last month that there was a whole bunch of people submitted stuff from July. It's not going to count. If they did it for 5 minutes, that's what's going to be the wrong thing. Or not having enough profit. The graduation requirements are in the form itself at the bottom. It's there. So pay attention. You have until 6 p.m. UTC on December 22nd to get these in. So there's plenty of time to get it done. But please don't come and ask me, oh, I submitted my form, where's my role? If you're asking me that question before the forms close, you weren't paying attention. So please pay attention to this right here. Grading takes time, so give us some time. And someone asked here, can we get the link in here? No, we don't share the links. You got to scan the QR code. That's it. We don't put them out anywhere. Please don't use HawkFi. That was something else. Do not use HawkFi for your position. Just raw DLMM on this. And one single position. That's the other thing. It can't be like two positions or two different pools combined together. That's not going to work. So I think I covered everything. Yes, you can add more positions, more money to a position you had already opened, but again, new position as of today. And right. So
yeah, that's a good point. If when you open the position you find that the price shifted on you and it's only worth $90 instead of $100, you can put in like another $15. Make sure you get yourself over the $100 mark.
Someone else asked 5% fees. No, it's 5% profit. So you have to overcome any impermanent losses with your fees to be the profit. So it's like running a business. You've collected, say, $1,000, but your business expenses were $800. Well, your net is $200. What's the percentage? That's what gets figured out. And we're going to show you how to do all this in MetLex next.
Yeah. So to find out if you're profitable, you guys can go to MetLex, and it's very simple, metlex.io. You're going to click on the P&L tab there. You're going to enter your position's opening transaction signature. You can actually use any transaction signature from the position. You just put it in there, click the rocket, and then boom. Make sure that you meet the requirements, right? Make sure that it was opened, today, and that it was open at least an hour. Make sure you got at least 5% profit, and make sure you weren't in a stable pool, all that. And then you can copy that, and you're gonna put that into the graduation form. And then We also want to make sure that we get the transaction ID, right? So it's important that you go into SoulScan and then get that transaction ID from SoulScan as well. All right. If you guys do this, you do it right, follow the rules, you guys are going to get a graduation certificate, an NFT. All right. And it does take some time for us to get these out. We've been getting a lot of submissions, and it takes time to review all this. So please be patient. Don't expect the day right after the minute right after the forms are closed that you're going to get your role and you're going to get your NFT. Please, please, please be patient with us. All right. It's going to take us a little bit of time to get through everything. All right.
Yeah. And guys, if you are here thinking that you are, you're getting a role to get a bigger MET allocation, or that this graduation NFT is going to give you anything like that, it's not. This is for, it's Discord role, and the graduation certificate is just something cool. It's like, hey, I did this. You can show your mom and let her be proud of you. Show it to a potential date. Let us know if that works. If it gets you dates, that's awesome. I would love to hear about that. But if you really like this course, post about it. Tag us out on X, Meteora.ag. Is the X handle. Let us know what you think of this course. We're so glad to have you here, and we appreciate everybody attending. Geek, you got anything more?
I think that's it.
Okay.
Yeah, we really appreciate everybody joining. Thank you, Heavy Metal Cook, for allowing me to come back and present again. I really love doing these courses. I really enjoy it. Yeah, like HMC said, join our Discord, join the X. We're gonna hang out in the LP chat channel right after this. I'm gonna pop in. Actually, I'm gonna probably grab some lunch and then pop into the voice chat and hang out with you guys for a little bit. Any questions you guys have, we'll answer them live on the Discord. So we'll see you there.
Yep.
And good luck with your graduation requirements, everybody.
Yep. And I'm going to give our exit is a song, and it's a new song that I wrote about our dead community. If you would like to learn more about the dead community, it's right here. IamDead.xyz. You can also join the Dead LP Army in the Meteora Discord. Magica runs that. It's a cool thing. Go check it out. Check out the website and do all that. But that's our exiting song, a song about dead. Thanks, guys, and have a great one.
Explorer's fire in his eyes. Under the ice he finds the prize. Long forgotten in the pools was more than gold or jewels. A hidden power deep within. His journey is about to begin. To shatter the token he must, and form an army from the dust. Now called the great janitor, he has become only the handler. Missing the power inside, the dead army now arise. For this we are bred, to be the army of the dead. Forever it shall be said, I am dead, I am dead. token of the dead, to Jupiter and beyond. The dead token is our bond. Forge ahead in the great rules, using the dead as our tools. For this we are bred to be the army of the dead. Forever it shall be said, I am dead, I am dead, I am dead. Creating new images of power that echo till the final hour. We are the dead here and now, forever dead, this we avow. From the pieces the janitor shatters, the dead army is all that matters. For this we are bred to be the army of the dead. Forever it shall be said,